Hello and welcome to this special episode of Domination Tactics Workshop from Abyss Map. In this episode we will run into a hacker. This guy has been around Champion League for a few weeks now and he may still be active when this video is released. Not sure why Pixonic chooses not to do anything about it, because the hack is very obvious and I've provided video proof multiple times by now. But anyways, this video is about something else. I want to show you that sometimes under certain circumstances it is possible to beat hackers. However, multiple factors need to come together in order to do that. Here is our guy, I already know him. He is using an indestructible Ravana that instantly vaporizes enemies, has infinite amounts of phase shift and teleports. So how can you possibly deal with a guy like this? So the first thing that you need to realize in such a situation is that you cannot possibly win by botting out your opponents. The hacker, unless he disconnects, is basically indestructible, so don't fool yourself into believing that you can win by bot out. So this means that it is basically impossible to win against hackers in FFA and Team Deathmatch. And it is close to impossible to win against them in beacon games, but as you know, beacon games provide another possibility to win, beacon control. So at this moment, when I realized that we ran against the hacker, I knew that I needed to keep my Skyros alive as long as possible. The hacker cannot be in two places at the same time, so the thinking here is that if we have capable teammates, we just need to make sure somehow that we take all the beacons in locations where the hacker is not at any given moment, and somehow manage to stay alive. There is also another way on how to deal with this particular hack that I'm going to show you later, but for now, the first thing that I do is I run away from him towards a red beacon where he is not at this particular moment, for example at center. And then we are going to continue this game as long as we can. While we are doing this, let me also mention something else. The first factor in order to have a very small chance to win against a hacker is that your teammates are not useless. And that's actually quite probable when you run into a hacker, because matchmaking is matching players that win lots of battles against ever stronger players, so that they will finally lose. So you can assume that the hacker wins basically all battles and that his teammates are weaker than yours. And that's also a chance, because weaker players usually don't know how to play beacon tactics, and also get themselves destroyed easier because they tend to be more on the open field or don't know how to protect themselves. Here is a great example. Half the enemy team blindly follows the hacker, so I can take all their free beacons. They don't even realize what's happening. So sometimes you can get quite some amount of beacons in these battles at the start and in the mid game, but the most difficult part is actually to bring this advantage over the finishing line, when your team is decimated and you start losing all beacons towards the end of the battle. So our goal here is to get a beacon bar advantage that is large enough so that the battle is potentially over before we bot out. And this will be extremely difficult, but sometimes possible. So finally the hacker notices me and that I'm stealing away all beacons, so he teleports in front of my nose. And now comes the second tactic that you can use, but it only works against this particular hack with the Ravana. The hacker has unlimited transcendence charges, but you all know about the problem of transcendence. When you activate it, you lose beacon control. And the hack does not prevent this. So look at that, he's standing right in front of me on the beacon, but I still turn it blue. It's a bit of a paradox, but it's like that. And while he is standing around there, what I do is I circle my Skyros around him and make myself very difficult to hit. Maybe he suffers from lag, maybe he uses a bad mouse or a small cell phone screen, who knows. But what I try to do here, instead of running away from the hacker as before, is the following. I try to bind him to myself. And I just hope that my teammates, which presumably are not morons, will go for the other beacons. And it works. You can see that the red team got 5 capped. Look at that. Now the hacker realizes that it's difficult to kill me, so he jumps on another beacon and kills my teammate there. What do? I'm quite fast and almost full on health, so I follow him and try to keep the beacon blue. Same tactic as before, I circle around him, making myself difficult to hit and hope that my teammates can hold all other beacons. So this will now take a while and his teammates will arrive. I'm sure that they know that they're running with a hacker, but they still want to win, so they play normally and just follow the hacker around in order to maximize their damage. Is this the right thing to do when you play with or against hackers? Well, at least let's say it's controversial. Some players self-destruct when they see themselves facing hackers or playing with them. Others say to themselves, well, I will stay in the battle, but my aim is to report him afterwards. But most players simply don't care. They just play normally, they want to shoot stuff, and they also don't care about reporting the hacker. I cannot really blame them, because if they would do anything else than playing normally, it's not necessarily in their benefit. They would potentially end up in the last place in the stats, get less resources and honor, so in the end it would just have been a waste of time for them. Also, I found that the in-game reporting tool is quite useless at this point in time. I hope that this will change one day, but no matter how much I report hackers or how much video evidence I provide, it takes weeks, sometimes months, until Pixonic takes actions against them. And that's quite frustrating, to be honest. But all we can do is hope that this aspect of the game will improve at one point. Until this point is reached, well, if I run into a hacker, I will simply try to beat him and try to play as good as I can, like in this battle here. So in the end I get destroyed in an attempt to flee to the center beacon, because of course the hacker already waited for me there. So let's stop here for a second and try to understand our situation. Our beacon bar looks good, but we're behind on beacons, so will this be enough for the win? It's still very unlikable, because the hacker is wiping out our entire team, but we simply continue doing what we were doing and try to get as many beacons as we can. So for this reason I bring my second beacon capper, the Cremolo Capri, and off we go to center. Here we see a teammate dealing with the hacker. I see that both A and B are red, so I go through the teleport and check them out. Here I try to convince the Shuranga not to shoot me because he's running with a hacker, but he doesn't really care. So beacon B is blocked, let's try to get A instead. We managed to turn it blue, but cannot hold it. Back to B. And we finally go down. No chance against two titans. At this point we don't have any fast beacon capper left, but I decide to bring my own titan instead. My thinking is, maybe we can get this Shuranga and the Aoming out of the way and fetch beacons A and B. This would help tremendously to preserve our small chance to win here. Let's go! So I ignore the hacker that luckily placed himself in beacon no man's land. Titan Slayer, perfect! So we got our own home beacon back, and we are back into the game, as one of our teammates also got center. Great job! And now comes the situation that will decide this battle. I see that our teammate goes for beacon B here, so I don't need to go there anymore. He's in a Capri, I assume that he knows what he's doing, so I also assume that he will go to beacon A right afterwards, covering the two bottom beacons. So the most effective thing that I can do in this situation is to try to take out this Aoming and go for the red home beacon D. Let's see how this works. The wing goes down, I drop down at beacon D. And look at that, my teammate indeed is turning beacon A. Perfect! And all of a sudden we have 4 kept the red team. Unbelievable. So let's defend this beacon now with everything that we got. Of course I hope that my teammate in this Capri can keep me alive here. And then we are a little bit lucky. Look at my health here. With 16,000 health left I managed to lift up my Muramets and kill the Shuranga. I would say that I earned this luck, don't you think? We can control beacons now from here, so I decide to stay in the area, because if we hold these 3 beacons until the end, we will win by default. The Northlight mothership luckily got charged, and I got a bit of health back. Let's grill this Nightingale here, and this Harpy. And in the last seconds of the game I decide to simply control this Capri here, because I was confident that I could lock the beacon down for the time remaining. So the unbelievable happened, we managed to beat the hacker and his team. This is a very rare occurrence. It maybe happens in 1 game out of 100 or so, but when you actually pull it off against all odds, it's one of the most satisfactory things that you can experience in playing War Robots. So I hope that you liked this episode of Domination Tactics Workshop. Thanks for listening in and see you on my channel.